Today, I'm in one of the most picturesque cities in the entire province. I'm in Collingwood, Ontario, and we're looking at the history of the area. Collingwood, Ontario is located right here, on the southernmost shores of Georgian Bay. When you drive through Collingwood, you notice how well kept the town is, how fancy many of the houses are, how pristine many of the historical churches are, and how much the downtown core looks like it did in the past. You see, Collingwood of over a century ago was prosperous. It served as a powerful spot for both trade and for the very lucrative business of building ships. The town was important, and as you can tell these days, it's going back to doing really well. Now, walking down the main street here in downtown, you notice just how well kept many of the heritage buildings are, and I love that. When you look at the harbor from above now, it looks a lot different than it did before. Being here at Collingwood Harbor is wild because I'm here now, surrounded by construction. Let me turn the camera around. Here, right here, is where massive ships were built for over a century. The quaint city we have now used to be dominated by massive ships at the end of Hurontario Street. If you grew up anywhere near Collingwood, you likely took school trips just to see the launch of the ships, which was always very dramatic and exciting.
On a fine late spring morning, many travel to the town of Collingwood on the shores of Georgian Bay to witness a short but spectacular event, the launching of a ship.
Now, when the shipping industry shut down in Collingwood in the 1980s, it's hard to overstate how much of a change it was for the area.
It is with considerable regret that I am here today to announce formally the permanent closing of the Collingwood shipyard, the effective date being September 12th, 1986.
Collingwood yards have not seen any new orders since 1984. The lack of a major dry dock and the costs involved with keeping the yard open without contracts, estimated at $4 million a year, all contributed to the decision to close. As recently as a year ago, the yards employed 800. Today, the handful that are left are finishing work on the last contract, an icebreaker for the federal government.
The city, formerly known for its shipping industry, has also been known for other things. Yes, of course, for its Collingwood Elvis Festival, which ran from the 90s until fairly recently, but also for the world-famous Blue Mountain Pottery, which started out as a side hustle to help fund the fledgling ski hills during the off-seasons, and eventually becoming one of the most collectible arts and crafts collections in Canada. The pottery is now gone, but a vibrant and growing winter sports culture is very much there in its place. But those small ski resorts are now this, international destinations. The small city is also known for its love of hockey. In 1991, Team Canada trained here in preparation for the 1991 Canada Cup. Yes, the 1991 Canada Cup with those beautiful jerseys. And they all trained right here in Collingwood. Collingwood has a rich history within the hockey world. I am currently right here in the harbor of Collingwood, and you notice one thing when you get here is how much development is going on right downtown and how tidy things are. And when you take a walk down the main street like I'm just about to do, you notice how well the heritage buildings are being kept up. So if I was standing where I am right now and I looked that way, a few decades ago, things would have looked remarkably different. Yes, there was a Loblaws over there, but at the end of that street, right by the harbor, was a very different situation. Here is the old grain elevator in 1868. Here is a great 1907 photo of the harbor. Here is Ontario Street right here. Here is a photo of the former grain elevator in 1900. For Collingwood of the 1800s was an important spot along the Great Lakes. And the Great Lakes controlled shipping and also trips of pleasure. Just look at these pamphlets for cruises. But the shipping industry was not solely for trade and tourism. Collingwood during World War II played an important role for the Allied forces, building corvettes. This ship here, the HMCS Collingwood, was the first corvette entered into Canadian service, being part of our war effort until being decommissioned in 1945 and scrapped in 1950. Now, the trains that used to jog through Collingwood en route to Thornbury and elsewhere are no longer there, but they have been substituted for hiking trails. Outdoor activities now being promoted heavily with new and, according to my kids, awesome water parks in the harbor and along the lake. It's true. The waterfront in Collingwood has, over the past few years, been impressively developed into spaces for hiking and playgrounds. Lots and lots of playgrounds. A nod to the thousands of new residents moving into the area and an investment into catering to young families. So, when you think about Collingwood history, you think of the rough and tumble days of the 1970s at the hotels and bars serving the shipyards. You think of nice pottery, a ski resort that used to look like this and now looks like this. You think of hiking the hills, the remains of Osler Castle, which started out looking like this when the Crown attorney from the Louis Riel trial built it for his wife in the late 1800s. And when you get off the beautiful main street, you can also be transported to a different time. The area also clearly has an agrarian history. These two men harvesting oats just outside Collingwood in 1949. And that is the story of Collingwood, Ontario.
Now, as someone that was a musician for most of my adult life, I have played and been in most little theaters across the province. The Gaiety Theatre here in Collingwood is beautiful. It's really well maintained, it sounds great, and it's always a pleasure to play. Today, I'm on the southernmost shores of Georgian Bay, right here in, well, Collingwood. Today, I'm on the southernmost shores of Georgian Bay, and today I'm here on the southernmost shores of Georgian Bay to talk to you about the history of, well, guess.
Get ready to take the ride of your life. Blue Mountain's Great Slide Ride. So go for the day or plan to stay at the Blue Mountain Inn. It's a mountain of good times, Highway 26 west of Collingwood.